Get out of my house! You are fired!
He didn't even let her explain. Get out of my house, Marcus snapped. You're fired. The maid stood frozen, clutching a folder to her chest. You disobeyed me, he continued. I gave you one rule. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because how do you tell a billionaire that you were going to save his children's lives? 3 hours later, both of his sons stopped breathing, and the only person who knew what to do was the woman he had just thrown out. Stay with me, because by the time he discovers the truth, he's already on his knees. I told you to stay out of the West Wing, Marcus said, his voice calm, controlled, sharp enough to cut glass. That wasn't a suggestion. Lena Brooks stood by the marble staircase, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. I'm sorry, sir, she said quietly. I heard coughing. I thought. You thought, Marcus snapped. That's the problem. The house was silent behind them, too silent. The kind of quiet that came from money, fear, and people walking on eggshells. Marcus gestured toward the door. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. Lena's eyes flicked toward the hallway that led to the children's rooms. Please, she said, just let me explain. There's nothing to explain, Marcus replied. My children are under medical supervision. I don't pay staff to improvise. Lena swallowed hard. Sir, your children are dying. The words landed wrong. Marcus's jaw tightened. Get out. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She nodded once. Yes, sir. And just like that, the woman who had quietly held his family together for months was gone. Marcus Vail was worth $9 billion. He owned pharmaceutical companies, private hospitals, entire city blocks. When doctors spoke, they chose their words carefully around him. When people made mistakes, they apologized fast. But none of that had saved his children. Twins, Oliver and Theo Vail, 9 years old, one diagnosed first, then the other. A rare genetic immune disorder that didn't have a neat name or an easy fix. Their bodies attacked themselves, slowly, methodically, like something had flipped the switch at birth and set a timer. Marcus had thrown everything at it. Top specialists, experimental treatments, machines that beeped and hummed and whispered numbers he pretended to understand. Nothing worked. Now, the west wing of his estate looked less like a home and more like a private ICU. Monitors, oxygen tanks, nurses rotating in 12-hour shifts, and rules. So many rules. No noise after 8 p.m., no visitors without clearance, no staff entering the boys' rooms without permission. Rules were the only thing Marcus had left, and Lena Brooks had broken one. Lena packed quietly. One suitcase, that was all she owned. As she passed the west wing, she slowed. The door to the twins' room was slightly open. She shouldn't. She knew she shouldn't, but she stepped inside anyway. Oliver lay still, his chest rising too shallowly. Theo slept curled on his side, clutching a worn-out stuffed fox. Lena knelt beside them. I'm sorry, she whispered. I tried. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded envelope, and slid it beneath the fox's paw. Then she stood, took one last look, and walked away. 3 hours later, Marcus was on a video call with his chief medical advisor. This progression is faster than we anticipated, the doctor said carefully. Theo's oxygen saturation is dropping. Oliver's inflammatory markers are spiking. Marcus leaned back in his chair. So fix it. There was silence. We're running out of options. Marcus stared at the screen. That's not acceptable. The doctor hesitated. There is one possibility. Marcus leaned forward. Then say it. There's an overseas trial, unapproved, high risk, limited slots. They rarely take siblings. Where? Marcus asked instantly. Geneva, but even with your resources, get me in, Marcus said. I don't care how. The doctor looked uncomfortable. The application process takes months. Genetic confirmation, independent referrals. Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. Then speed it up. I'm not sure that's possible. Marcus ended the call without another word. That night, the house felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. Marcus stood in the hallway outside the West Wing, listening to the machines breathe for his sons. For the first time, doubt crept in. Not about the doctors, about himself. He thought of Lena's words. Your children are dying. Anger flared. Who did she think she was? A maid, no degree, no authority. Yet, somehow, she'd said it without fear. Marcus turned away. At 2:17 a.m., an alarm sounded. Not loud, just sharp enough. A nurse shouted from inside the room, "Mr. Vale!" Marcus ran. Theo was convulsing. His lips were turning blue. "Where's the oxygen?" Marcus demanded. "We're trying." Oliver began coughing violently from the other bed. Everything blurred, shouting, beeping, hands moving too fast. Marcus stood frozen as doctors worked on his sons, his empire suddenly useless. "Dad, don't let us die," Oliver whispered weakly. "I won't." He had no idea how. Hours later, the crisis stabilized, barely. Marcus sat alone in his office as dawn crept through the windows. He hadn't slept. He hadn't moved. A nurse knocked gently and stepped inside. "Sir," she said, "we found something." She held out an envelope. Marcus frowned. "What's that?" It was under Theo's stuffed animal. Marcus took it. The handwriting was neat, careful. His chest tightened as he unfolded the paper. And as he read the first line, the world Marcus Vale thought he controlled began to crack. Marcus stared at the paper for a long time before his brain caught up to his eyes. The room felt too quiet again, too still. His fingers tightened around the envelope as he finally began to read. "Mr. Vale, I know I broke your rules. I know you'll never forgive me for that. But I couldn't watch them fade without trying something. 3 months ago, when Dr. Rayner said no viable options, I started calling hospitals on my own time. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to give you false hope. There's a pediatric immunotherapy program in Lucerne. It's experimental. It's dangerous. But it works, sometimes. They don't take applications from parents, only independent referrals. I sent the twins' genetic data using samples marked for disposal. They've accepted Oliver and Theo into the trial. The window is 10 days. I'm sorry I disobeyed you, but I'd do it again for Oliver and Theo. Lena." Marcus's hands began to shake. Lucerne? He'd never heard of it. He reread the letter slower this time. Independent referrals, accepted, 10 days. No, he whispered. This didn't make sense. He'd been told access was impossible. He'd been told the process took months. He grabbed his phone and dialed his medical advisor. "Did you know about a clinic in Lucerne?" Marcus asked the moment the call connected. "Lucerne?" the doctor repeated. "How did you—" "Answer the question." "Yes," the doctor said slowly, "but they don't accept direct applications. Their ethics board only works with third-party advocates." Marcus felt sick. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because we didn't have one," the doctor said, "and they wouldn't even review the case without it." Marcus ended the call. The letter slipped from his fingers onto the desk. The maid, the woman he fired for disobeying orders. She had done what his entire empire couldn't. By noon, Marcus was on a private jet. Not to Lucerne, to find Lena Brooks. He had no idea where she'd gone. Human resources didn't either. "She declined severance," the director said nervously over the phone. "Left quietly." Marcus closed his eyes. Of course she did. The jet landed back in the city 2 hours later. Marcus didn't go home. He went to the one place he'd never bothered to learn about, the staff quarters. A security guard hesitated. "Sir, this area is—" "I know," Marcus said. "Move." Lena's room was already empty, the bed stripped, the walls bare, but on the small desk by the window sat a folded piece of paper. Marcus picked it up. A list. Clinic contact numbers. Dates. Names. And at the bottom, written smaller than the rest, "If anything happens to me, please don't let them stop trying." Marcus sank onto the chair. For the first time in years, he felt something dangerously close to shame. He found her that evening at a bus terminal on the edge of the city. She was sitting alone with her suitcase, her coat wrapped tightly around her, staring at the departure board like she didn't really see it. Marcus stopped a few feet away. "Lena." She looked up. Her face went pale. "I'm not coming back," she said immediately. "I know I broke your trust." "I know," Marcus said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "I fired you." She nodded. "Yes." "I shouldn't have." Silence hung between them. People rushed past, unaware that a life-changing moment was unfolding next to them. "You arranged the Lucerne trial," Marcus said quietly. Lena didn't answer. "Look at me," he said. She did. Her eyes were tired, red. "Yes," she said. "I did." "Why?" Marcus asked. She laughed once, softly, without humor. "Because someone had to." "I have doctors," Marcus snapped, "teams of them. And they did everything they were trained to do, but they stopped believing there was more." Marcus swallowed. "You had no right." "I know. You could have killed them." "I know again. But doing nothing was killing them anyway." Marcus looked away. He didn't recognize the man he was anymore. "Come back," he said suddenly. Lena shook her head. "You don't mean that." "I do." "You're scared," she said softly, "and scared men look for someone to blame." Marcus flinched. She stood, lifting her suitcase. 10 days, that's what you wrote." "Yes. We leave tonight." She was shocked. "What?" "The twins are going to Lucerne, and you're coming with us." "I can't afford—" "I don't care," Marcus said. "You're not staff anymore." "Then what am I?" she asked quietly. Marcus hesitated. "Someone who didn't give up on my children." Lena's eyes filled with tears. Lucerne was colder than Marcus expected. The clinic didn't look impressive. No marble floors, no glass towers, just a quiet building tucked between mountains. The lead physician, Dr. Keller, reviewed the vials in silence. "These results," he said finally, "are outdated." Marcus's heart dropped. "Then it's too late?" "No," Dr. Keller said. "It means someone acted quickly." He looked at Lena. "You're the advocate?" Lena nodded. Dr. Keller turned back to Marcus. "Your sons qualify." "Barely." Marcus exhaled shakily. "When do we start?" "Immediately," Dr. Keller replied. "But you should understand, this treatment will be brutal." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Do it." That night, as the twins slept in their hospital beds, Marcus stood outside the room with Lena. "You paid the application fee," he said. "Yes." "How much?" Lena hesitated. "It doesn't matter." "How much?" Marcus repeated. 28,000, she whispered. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. "That was your entire savings, right?" "Yes." "Why?" His voice cracked. "You barely knew them." Lena looked through the glass at the sleeping boys. "I knew what it was like to be too late." Marcus frowned. "Too late for what?" Lena didn't answer. Not yet. And Marcus didn't push, because deep down, He already knew. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of the truth. The treatment started the next morning. No countdown, no speeches, just nurses in quiet rooms, IV lines sliding into small arms, and machines that hummed like they were trying not to be noticed. Oliver went first. He screamed when the needle went in. Marcus grabbed his hand, holding it tight. "I've got you," he whispered. "I'm right here." Oliver sobbed, his body trembling. "Dad, it hurts." Marcus had closed billion-dollar deals without blinking. Now he was shaking. Tio watched from the next bed, his eyes wide with fear. "Is it going to hurt me too?" Marcus opened his mouth. Lena answered instead. "Yes," she said softly, "but you won't be alone." Tio nodded slowly. "Okay." That word, okay, hit Marcus harder than any scream. By day 3, the side effects hit. Hard. Oliver couldn't keep food down. Tio developed a fever that refused to break. Their skin turned ashen. Their voices grew weak. Dr. Keller was honest. "This is the point where many parents quit," he said quietly. "The body fights back before it accepts the treatment." Marcus clenched his fists. "And if it doesn't accept it?" Dr. Keller met his eyes. "Then we lose them." Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat between their beds, watching their chests rise and fall. Lena sat in the corner, knitting something small with trembling hands. "You don't have to stay," Marcus said. She didn't look up. "Yes, I do." On day 5, Theo stopped responding. Not unconscious, just gone. His eyes were open, but he didn't react to his name. His fingers went limp in Marcus's hand. "Doctor," Marcus said, his voice breaking, "something's wrong." Dr. Keller checked the monitors. His expression darkened. "We're losing him." The words Marcus had outrun his entire life finally caught him. "No," Marcus whispered, "not again." Again. That word slipped out before he could stop it. Lena stood abruptly. "What do you mean, again?" Marcus didn't answer. Theo's heart rate dropped. Nurses rushed in. Orders flew. Marcus was pushed back as doctors worked over his son. He stood frozen, useless, watching. Lena grabbed his arm. "Marcus," she said firmly, "look at me." He didn't. "Marcus!" She slapped him. Hard. His head snapped toward her in shock. "Your son can feel you," she said, her voice shaking. "Don't disappear now." Something broke. Marcus dropped to his knees beside the bed. Theo's small chest barely moved. "I'm here," Marcus whispered desperately. "I'm here. I'm not leaving." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. I should have been there sooner." The monitor beeped erratically, then, slowly, steadied. Theo gasped, a weak breath. Then another. The room exhaled. Dr. Keller straightened. He stabilizing. Marcus collapsed against the bed, sobbing. Lena backed away, her hands covering her mouth, tears streaming down her face. She turned and fled the room. Marcus found her in the stairwell. She was sitting on the steps, rocking slightly, her knitting forgotten beside her. "Why did you run?" Marcus asked quietly. She shook her head. "I can't watch it again." "Watch what?" She pressed her fists into her eyes. A child slipping away. Marcus sat beside her. "You've seen this before," he said. She didn't deny it. "My son," Lena whispered. "Ethan." Marcus's was shocked. He was 7, same symptoms, different name. Marcus's floor tilted beneath him. "What happened?" Lena swallowed. "I trusted the doctors. I trusted the system." Her voice broke. "And I trusted that there would be more time." She looked at Marcus, her eyes hollow. There wasn't. Silence wrapped around them. "I promised him," she said, "that I'd never let another child fight alone." Marcus stared at the wall, his chest burning. "That's why you broke my rules," he said. "Yes." "That's why you spent your savings?" "Yes." That's why you stayed even when I fired you. Lena nodded. Marcus bowed his head. I treated you like you were nothing, and you were the bravest person in the room. Lena didn't respond. She just cried. By day 8, the doctor saw something unexpected. Inflammation levels are dropping, Dr. Keller said cautiously. Not dramatically, but enough to matter. Marcus leaned forward. So it's working? It might be, but we're not out of danger. That night, Marcus finally slept. Not in his office, not in a chair, on the floor between his son's beds. Lena placed a blanket over him without waking him. On day 10, the clinic called an emergency meeting. Dr. Keller stood with the medical team, charts spread across the table. We need to talk, he said. Marcus's heart dropped. Just say it. Dr. Keller exhaled. One of your sons is responding better than expected. Marcus blinked. Which one? Dr. Keller hesitated. The other is crashing. Marcus's knees went weak. Who? He demanded. Dr. Keller met his eyes. The treatment may only save one. The words echoed. One, not both. Lena closed her eyes. Marcus felt the walls closing in. This isn't how this story ends, he said hoarsely. But for the first time, he wasn't sure anymore. Marcus didn't remember sitting down. One moment he was standing in Dr. Keller's office, the next he was staring at the floor, his hands braced on his knees, like his body had given up before his mind could catch up. One, Marcus whispered. You're telling me I have to choose one. Dr. Keller shook his head slowly. I'm telling you the treatment is pushing their systems in different directions. If we continue at full strength for both, we may lose both. Marcus laughed once, sharp, broken. That's not a choice. That's torture. Lena stood beside him, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly together. What happens if we stop the treatment for one? Marcus asked. Dr. Keller didn't hesitate. He will decline. Quickly. Marcus closed his eyes. Control. Money. Power. None of it meant anything here. Which one is responding? Marcus asked quietly. Oliver, Dr. Keller said. Marcus's chest tightened. And Theo? Dr. Keller lowered his gaze. Theo's body is rejecting it. Marcus stood abruptly. No, we adjust. We add something. We increase the dosage. We've tried, Dr. Keller said gently. This is the edge. Marcus slammed his fist against the wall. The sound echoed. Lena flinched, but didn't step back. Marcus turned to her, his eyes wild. Say something. You always know what to do. Lena swallowed. I don't, she whispered. I just refuse to lose loving them. Marcus's breath hitched. I can't choose, he said. I won't. Dr. Keller nodded slowly. Then we don't choose. Marcus looked up. What? We maintain treatment for both, Dr. Keller said. It's against protocol. It may cost us our license. Marcus stepped forward. Then I'll protect you. Dr. Keller met his eyes. This isn't about protection. This is about faith. Faith. Marcus hated that word, but he nodded. That night, Theo crashed again, harder this time. The monitor screamed. Nurses rushed in. Oliver stirred, confused and weak. Dad? Marcus ran to Theo's bedside. Theo's lips were blue, his chest barely moved. No, Marcus whispered, not like this. Lena pushed past the nurses. She climbed onto the bed beside Theo, ignoring the alarms, ignoring the shouts. Lena, a nurse yelled, you can't. Watch me, Lena said fiercely. She cradled Theo's head, her forehead pressed to his. Stay, she whispered. Please stay. Marcus stood frozen. Dr. Keller shouted orders. Nothing worked. The monitor flatlined. Time stopped. No, Marcus screamed. No! Lena began compressions. Her hands moved automatically, precisely, counting under her breath. Come back, she whispered. You are not done. Tears streamed down her face as she worked. Marcus dropped to the floor, gripping Theo's hand. I'm here, he sobbed. I'm here. I'm not hiding anymore. I promise. Oliver cried weakly from his bed. Don't let him go, Dad. The room was chaos. Minutes passed. Too many. Then, a cough. Small. Ragged. Theo gasped. The monitor beeped. Once. Then again. A nurse sobbed. Dr. Keller exhaled shakily. We have a heartbeat. Marcus collapsed over the bed, shaking. Lena slumped back, her hands trembling violently. She whispered, barely audible, "Thank you." To God, to fate, to anyone listening. Later, Marcus found her alone in the chapel. He hadn't known the clinic had one. She sat in the back pew, her hands folded, staring at nothing. You almost died with him, Marcus said quietly. Lena didn't look at him. I already did once. Marcus sat beside her. I don't pray, he said. That's okay, Lena replied. I do enough for both of us. Marcus swallowed. I spent my whole life believing I could control outcomes, he said. That if I worked harder, paid more, demanded more, nothing could touch me. Lena finally looked at him. And now? And now, Marcus said, his voice breaking, I'd give up everything just to hear them laugh again. Lena nodded. That's where love begins. By day 14, something changed. Theo stabilized. Oliver's numbers continued to improve. Not a miracle, not yet, but enough. Dr. Keller allowed himself a small smile. He's fighting, he said. Marcus stood at the window watching snow fall outside the clinic. For the first time, he didn't feel the need to control anything. That night, Marcus sat between his sons' beds. Lena stood in the doorway. You don't have to stay anymore, Marcus said quietly. They're stable. Lena shook her head. I'm not finished. Marcus nodded. Neither was he. The call came 2 days later. Dr. Keller didn't smile this time. The treatment worked, he said. Marcus's was shocked. Both? Dr. Keller nodded. Both. Marcus dropped into the chair, covering his face. Lena covered her mouth, sobbing. Dr. Keller continued, but recovery will take years. Marcus looked up. I'll be there, every day. Dr. Keller nodded. That will matter more than anything we did. That night, Marcus stood on the balcony of the clinic. Lena joined him. You saved my sons, Marcus said. Lena shook her head gently. No, you stayed. Marcus looked at her. And you, he said, saved me from myself. Lena smiled sadly. Then maybe something good came from losing my son. Marcus took her hand, and for the first time, he didn't let go. 3 years later, the house was loud again. Not the echoing, hollow kind of loud Marcus used to live with, but the messy, alive kind. Theo chased Oliver down the hallway, laughing so hard he tripped over his own feet. Dad, he cheated, Oliver yelled. Marcus looked up from the kitchen table, where he was struggling to assemble a model airplane. I did not cheat. I improvised, Theo protested. Improvising is cheating. Ask any pilot. Theo grinned. Good thing I'm not one. Lena watched from the doorway. She still wore simple clothes, still moved quietly, but there was nothing invisible about her anymore. Marcus noticed everything now. The way she lingered when the boys laughed, the way her hand rested over her heart when they slept, the way she still flinched at hospital sirens. Some losses don't fade, they transform. Breakfast, Marcus called. Theo skidded to a stop. Is it the good pancakes or the healthy ones? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Depends. Are you feeling honest today? Oliver laughed. It's the good ones. Later that morning, a black car waited outside. Marcus straightened his jacket. The board meeting, the first one he'd agreed to attend since stepping down as CEO. Lena noticed the tension immediately. You don't have to go, she said gently. Marcus nodded. I know. Theo leaned against him. Are those the people who fired you? Marcus knelt. No, they're the people I walked away from. Oliver tilted his head. Why? Marcus thought for a moment. Because I almost lost what mattered. Theo hugged him suddenly. You didn't. Marcus hugged him back harder. The boardroom was colder than he remembered. Same polished table, same faces. Different Marcus. The chairman cleared his throat. We appreciate you coming. Marcus nodded. I'm not here to reclaim my position. Murmurs rippled. I'm here, Marcus continued, because you asked me to explain why I redirected half my estate. There was silence. One man scoffed. You're dismantling your own empire. Marcus leaned forward. No, I'm dismantling the illusion that it was ever the point. He stood. My sons almost died, he said calmly, not because medicine failed, because I failed to see beyond myself. The room shifted. I fired a woman for disobeying me, for saving my children instead of my pride. A woman at the table frowned. Your former maid? Marcus nodded. Her name is Lena. He paused. She buried her son before she ever saved mine. No one spoke. She arranged treatment I didn't believe in. She stayed when I would have walked away. Marcus's voice broke, but he didn't hide it. I didn't just fire her, he said. I almost erased her. The chairman swallowed. And now? And now, Marcus said, every pediatric wing my foundation builds will carry her son's name. There was huge silence. Every family who can't afford life-saving care, Marcus continued, will receive it. No questions, no contracts, no repayment. A board member stood. This is reckless philanthropy. Marcus smiled faintly. So was loving my children without conditions, but it saved them. He picked up his coat. I don't need this company anymore, but you might need this reminder. He walked out. That afternoon, Lena sat in the hospital garden. She visited every month. Marcus found her there. They named the wing after Daniel, he said softly. Lena closed her eyes. For a moment, she didn't breathe. They remembered him, she whispered. They will, Marcus said, for generations. Lena wiped her tears. He loved airplanes. Marcus smiled. Theo does too. Lena laughed through her tears. Then she grew quiet. I never asked for this, she said. I know. That's why you deserve it. Months later, the clinic invited them back. Theo ran ahead, energetic and loud. Oliver held Marcus's hand. Dr. Keller met them at the door. You're miracles, he said, smiling. Theo grinned. Dad says we're just stubborn. Dr. Keller laughed. That helps. They passed the new wing. Daniel's Hope Center was etched into the wall. Lena touched the letters. Marcus watched her. Stay, he said quietly. She looked at him. I already did. That night, after the boys slept, Marcus and Lena sat on the porch. The world was quiet. Do you ever regret it? Marcus asked, standing up to me that day. Lena smiled. Every day. Marcus chuckled. But, she continued, I'd do it again, even knowing the cost. Marcus nodded. That's love. Lena looked at the stars. That's faith. Marcus followed her gaze. For the first time in his life, he didn't need proof. Years later, Marcus would be known less as a billionaire and more as a father who learned too late and still in time. A man who lost control and found grace. And it all began the moment he fired the maid, without realizing she had already saved his children. Sometimes the miracle isn't loud. Sometimes it wears an apron and keeps showing up anyway. If this story reminded you that God can use anyone, anywhere, hit like, subscribe, and comment. I believe. You never know who needs to see your faith today.
Marcus Vade believed money could solve anything. He built hospitals, funded research, and controlled every detail of his world, except the one thing that mattered the most. When fear made him choose pride over listening, he fired the one person who saw what others refused to see. And hours later, his son stopped breathing. The woman Marcus saw as just a maid had already sacrificed everything. Her savings, her safety, and even reopening the wound of losing her own child. just to give his sons a chance to live. In the end, it wasn't power that saved his children. It wasn't authority or status either. It was compassion. It was courage. It was faith expressed through action. The lesson is simple but uncomfortable. Never underestimate the person standing quietly in the room. Titles don't determine wisdom. Wealth doesn't guarantee vision, and sometimes the miracle you are praying for is the person you are overlooking in the room. And love, real love, shows up even when it's been told to leave. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share so other people can watch and learn from it also. Subscribe to the channel because it helps us to grow, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will be the first person to know when we drop a new video. Do have a great day and stay blessed.